So the first mistake that you can make is actually using the same vocal track to try to create layers for a lead vocal. We all want to have vocals that sound full and amazing, but sometimes we don't want to take the extra time to create the extra vocal takes. And here's what the problem is with that. You can take a single vocal take and you can create duplicates of them and pan one left and pan one right, and then you can even offset them a little bit in time. But the reality is the vocal sounds kind of robotic because they're all singing the same thing at basically the same time with all of the same inflection and all the same tones. So after you've recorded your main vocal, you're gonna go back through and record at least 2 more vocal passes. You're gonna sing the same exact thing, but this time you're gonna change how far away from the microphone you are, or even bonus points if you change the tone or timbre of your voice just a little bit in terms of how you're delivering the line. And when you do this, you turn it from a robotic take into something that is extremely full and alive and vibrant. Number 2, not using volume automation before you start using plugins in your vocal chain. We all love to move directly into that point where we're slapping on an EQ or compression or maybe reverb or delay or whatever it is to try to make our voice sound good to our own ears. And it's fun to see that vocal transform from something that you may not love listening to something that sounds more dynamic and interesting to your own ear. But the problem is that if you do that too soon, you might not be getting the full benefit of using those plugins. So let me explain. Some plugins are designed to work with vocals that are coming in at a certain level that help them work the best that they can. So if your vocal take is all over the place when it's coming into the plugin, where it's really high in certain parts and it's really low in certain parts, that plugin's gonna have to work extra hard to try to do the processing that it needs to do on that vocal. And you may not quite hit the sweet spot of that gets the best sound out of that plugin. You can create a better sounding performance by doing a little bit of the work up front before you actually send it into those plugins. So try this, just create a simple volume automation that just cuts down some of the really high parts of a vocal and maybe boosts up a little bit of some of the lower parts of the vocal so that it's at a little bit more of an even level as it's going into those plugins, and then send them into the plugin chain. And I think you'll be surprised at how much better the vocals sound when you do a little bit of that automation up front. Number 3, not putting your vocals up front far enough in the mix. We all want our voice to sound amazing when we put it into our songs, but we're also at the same time really self-conscious about how that voice sounds in its raw form. And the problem is that when we're self-conscious about the way that we sound, we may not want people to hear all the subtle things that we don't like about our own voices as we're putting it into a mix. So we start to put the volume down a little bit on our vocals and maybe pump up things like reverb or delay just to try to make it sound a little bit better to our own ears when it goes into the mix. But what this means is that people might actually have a harder time hearing your voice and understanding what it is that you're saying. And if they can't understand what you're saying, they may not be able to connect with your lyrics or connect with what you're trying to get across in your song. And they may even get a little bit turned off by the fact that your music is much louder than the vocal and they can't understand what's happening. So embrace the fact that 95% of people that listen to your music will not hear those subtle things that you don't like about your vocal performance. They're not that focused on your performance. They're more focused, much more focused on how the song is making them feel and how they're connecting to the lyrics that you are talking about in your song. So next time, try pushing your vocals up a little bit more in the mix so that they're more out front in the song. And if you want to see a really simple way of doing some vocal mixing, then check out this video here, and I will see you in the next round.